Yo, what is going on, boys? Welcome back. It is MMA Jack, and today we are doing an award show for the 2024 UFC year. Content's running a little dry right now. We have no fights to predict for about a month, so I thought it'd be fun to recap the year. A lot of great events, a lot of great emerging fighters, and just overall a great year for the UFC. So we're going to do a couple categories here, and before we get into that, just wanted to thank everyone for the support. We're at 40 subscribers, shooting for 50 by the end of the year. Hopefully we'll get there. And I'm also doing a giveaway at 100 subs. So keep interacting with the videos. I'll keep putting them out. Thanks for all the support. And let's get into these awards. So starting off with a bang, we're going to go with Rookie of the Year. And as you guys can tell, it is Carlos Prates, the Nightmare. I think this was a very obvious pick for Rookie of the Year. He came onto the scene in February this year after his Contender Series win last year. That knockout with the straight left, it was disgusting. Came right in, knocked out Trevin Giles, knocked out Radke with that nasty knee to the body, and then was the first person to ever knock out the Leech, Li Jingliang, and capped it off with another knockout of Neil Magny in a Fight Night headliner semi-recently. I think it was a month or two. Oh, okay, November 9th. Cool. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's just an absolute monster. Part of the Fighting Nerds. And he just has so much aura. He's definitely Rookie of the Year in my book. I will say I'm a little bit scared to see him. You know, he's progressing right now, and he's eventually going to fight a Usman or Burns, a solid grappler. He did pretty well against Magny, but Magny's kind of washed up now. But regardless, I think he has a really bright future in this division, and I think he's very fan friendly and he's a funny dude. So big things for Prates coming up, but definitely Rookie of the Year in my opinion. Next category, we're gonna go Most Improved Fighter, and that belongs to Hanato Moicano. Money Moicano, give me my money, I want money. He is just awesome. Super good on the mic. He's hilarious. He's based, and he is a grappler, and sometimes his fights can be boring, but for the most part, he's pretty entertaining. I mean, even looking at the last fight with BSD, it was super entertaining grappling, insane ground and pound, and that's another reason I'm putting him on the Most Improved Fighter list, because I remember watching him just get absolutely battered by RDA during the Covington Masvidal pay-per-view, and I was like, damn, this guy is, trash, low-key. And now he just beat the guy that everyone's saying may be able to beat Islam before that Poirier fight. Even after the Poirier fight, everyone was still saying that. But yeah, just incredible year from Moicano. He had 3 wins against not all ranked. I mean, Drew Dober's pretty much right outside the rankings, but he totally turned it around. I was going to say all finishes, but he actually went to decision with Dober, but he destroyed him too. Again, I'm a little bit worried for him once he gets into the top 5. It's kind of a similar situation to Prates, but I think both will be able to fare well. And I don't think I'll ever, say Moicano is going to be a champ or anything, but I think he'll hold his own in the rankings. And hopefully we'll see another good year from him, because he's a good guy. Go check out his podcast if you haven't. But let's get on to the next category. Fight of the Year. 12 BC versus Mateusz Rebecki. This may be a controversial pick. I've seen a lot of people go in different ways. I've seen Max Holloway versus Gaethje, which I totally disagree. I don't think it was Fight of the Year. I think it was, well, you'll find out later in the show. I saw people going Zell Huber and Esteban Rivovics, which I actually can agree with. I can totally see how people chose that. But I'm going off my opinion here, and watching this fight was nuts. I remember it was on, I think, either Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia card. So it was super early in the morning, and I was watching this, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I was texting my buddies, you guys need to watch this fight right now. Or did anyone see that, or whatever I said. It was nuts. I have no clue how Mikdebek survived the entire fight. And he almost put away Rebecki like 5 times. While he was like, I mean, you could see in the picture right here, he couldn't even see. It was such a nuts war, such a good fight. The grappling was perfect. The feet, that when they were fighting on the feet, it was incredible. They knocked each other down like 8 times each. I still have no clue how the fight didn't get stopped, because if that was in the U.S., I think that would have been stopped 100% by the doctors. But absolute banger fight. I think it's no question fight of the year. And hopefully both of these guys keep rising up the lightweight rankings in their next fights, because I would love to see them fight more. Now, knockout of the year, we got to give it to Holloway. Absolutely incredible. At UFC 300, the biggest event in UFC history, BMF title fight, great fight, you know. Like I said, it wasn't the fight of the year, but it was a really good fight. Holloway was piecing him up, gave Gaethje the chance to get his get back, and knocks him out with 1 second to go. I mean, it was picture perfect. The reason I put a runner-up here is because Vinicius Oliveira deserves credit. He had one of the nastiest flying knee knockouts I've ever seen in my life. I was watching it live and just freaked out when it happened. So we got a runner-up here. This is our first runner-up of the video, but I felt like he had to be included because it was so nasty. And he's on a tear. Keep your eye out for Vinicius Oliveira. I think he's fighting Said Nurmagomedov at UFC Saudi Arabia. I could be wrong, but I know he's fighting him soon. But props to Holloway too. Just absolutely incredible performance. He was the underdog as well, and definitely deserves knockout of the year for that one. So submission of the year is going to Paddy Badzi Pimble, you fucking skausa. Honestly, I feel like this is a controversial pick also, but I don't really see how it's not submission of the year. I saw a bunch of people picking Chimaev, and yeah, that was a great performance and great submission, but Whitaker's jaw was also messed up before that fight. So he just kind of reopened an injury for Whitaker. Paddy had an insane submission and no one's talking about it. He had Bobby Green in a triangle choke, landed devastating ground and pound. Then he pulled an armbar during the triangle choke, knocked out Bobby Green with the triangle choke, and then broke his arm at the same time. I mean, that's the most insane submission ever. He got 2 submission finishes and 1 submission. So I don't know why no one's talking about this more. As a runner or a candidate for submission of the year, I'm not really seeing it much, but I think this is a clear cut. So props to Paddy, and let's go on to the next category. So comeback of the year is going to go to probably the greatest gatekeeper in UFC history, Neil Magny. Before this fight, Mike Malott was hyped up to be, the new contender to the champion, and he was insanely good, and he was until the 3rd round. I remember this was a super boring pay-per-view, and Malott was kind of just dogging Magny. I mean, he wasn't doing anything too crazy. Like, he was just taking him down, controlling him. He was outstriking him, but then he gassed out in the 3rd. And I remember I was like, there's literally no way that Magny comes back from this. And all of a sudden, he gets him down and starts landing shots, and I'm like, oh my God, you just got to survive like 45 seconds and you're done. But he couldn't do it. He totally gassed out, and Magny finished him with a TKO, and it was nuts. I mean, the live betting odds were probably like plus 5,000 for Magny to get that comeback win, but he did. And I think he totally deserves comeback of the year for that. So let's get into the next category. I think this might be the most obvious out of all the awards given tonight, but I think best pay-per-view of the year has got to be UFC 300. I mean, if you have a pay-per-view where Figgy versus Garbrandt is the first early prelim of the night, come on. Like, I know there's going to be some fake hardcores that are like, yeah, man, like UFC 299 was better, but it wasn't. You're lying to yourself. The card delivered. There was 1 or 2 boring fights. The Aljo fight was kind of boring. And then some of the women's fights were mid. But still, I mean, it was an incredible card. Top to bottom stacked. Great fights for the most part. Very entertaining card. And it's a little bit OP to have, 300 as the best pay-per-view, because obviously nothing can really compete with it. But got to give the award out, and it definitely goes to 300. So I don't think we'll get anything like this for another 8 or 9 years when we have UFC 400. But until then, I think 300 will be the best card ever. And who knows, even 300 could be better than 400, You never know. But let's move on. So I could be a little bit recency biased by this, but I'm going to go with UFC Tampa for best fight night of the year. The whole card was very entertaining. Davey Grant versus Ramon Tavares was great. Went to decision, but really good fight. Felipe Lima versus Miles Johns was also a very good fight. Woodson got the finish. Joel Alvarez, yeah, he had a crazy finish. It was like a knockout and submission at the same time. Michael Johnson knockout. Navajo Sterling was all right. I mean, I think he should have finished the Tuco guy, but also Tuco was very tough, so who knows. Yanez Marcos was a banger. And then Justin Jacoby with the insane knockout upset over Vitor Petrino. Cop fight was great. Swanson with the knockout. And then it was a pretty good fight between Colby and Joaquin Buckley. Even though Colby kind of got dominated, it was still entertaining for a Colby fight, especially considering after his last fight. But the crowd energy was there. Great card. And the UFC's got to get out of the Apex, because even if you have a mid-fight night in like an arena, it just changes the atmosphere so much. But yeah, this is my pick for Fight Night of the Year. And to cap off the first annual awards show with MMA Jack, we are going to do Fighter of the Year, and we have a tie. Ilia Topuria and Alex Potan Pereira. I couldn't really pick. I think it's very even because they're both champions. They both had knockouts in all their wins. Alex had more wins, but I think Ilia's wins were more impressive. So, Ilia knocked out the two GOATs of the division. He knocked out Volkanovski, which is very impressive, and then he knocked out Max Holloway, which is even more impressive, because Max Holloway, as we know, has the most legendary chin in the UFC and had never been knocked out before. Pereira, all three fights he ended in knockout, and he struggled a little bit with Khalil, but that was on short notice, so you got to give him some leniency there. But it's just, I don't know. The quality of fighter is not nearly as high as what Ilia is doing, in my opinion. But also, Potan, you have to put respect on his name because he stepped up on short notice, saved a lot of cards, and put on very entertaining fights against good challengers. So, I'm going to have to conclude a tie here. If you guys want to debate in the comments, go ahead. But I couldn't really pick between either of them. But yeah, that is the award show for 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you did enjoy the video, like I said, we're going to be doing a giveaway at 100 subscribers. So keep on a lookout for that, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks again for the support.